Being challenged, the saga surrounding embattled South suburban politician Tiffany
Will be on the general election ballot despite an attempt to block her candidacy by an ally.
Tiffany Henyard, who was once celebrated as the first and youngest female mayor of Dalton, is today coping with a growing number of controversies and public unhappiness. Many people are disappointed and disillusioned as a result of her administration's involvement in allegations of financial mismanagement, corruption, and neglect. Previously, it was hailed as a sign of progress and hope. The enthusiasm that greeted her historic rise was quickly replaced by criticism. Many people accuse Henyard of disregarding her responsibilities, prioritizing her own interests over her public duties, and failing to show strong leadership when times grew bad. Scandals such as lavish vacations paid for by taxpayers, and her repeated absences from crucial meetings, such as those addressing a government shutdown, have increased public scrutiny and raised questions about her commitment to her job. Many believe that Henyard has become a leader who is indifferent to the concerns that the residents of Dalton face, and who is either incapable or unwilling to address the town's pressing problems. As public outrage has grown, so too have calls for her resignation. Critics argue that rather than serving the electorate, her main objective is consolidating power. Federal probes into alleged misconduct also pose a threat to her government and will cloud her term for a long time. Despite the controversies, Henyard has shown little interest in retreating or listening to the concerns of her constituents. Her unwillingness to take responsibility has increased animosity since many people believe it shows a lack of care for the community's welfare. Protests and vocal demands for accountability have widened the gap between Henyard and Dalton residents, who feel duped by a leader they once backed. Her administration's inability to manage significant crises, such the insurance crisis that affected essential services and fiscal instability, has further eroded public trust. According to a federal inspection and ongoing investigations, her tenure could ultimately serve as a lesson about ambition wrecked by scandal and poor management. At a beacon of optimism, Henyard is now generally disillusioned with her constituents. The potential she once represented has been overshadowed by accusations of self-serving government. As calls for her resignation increase, the future of her political career remains uncertain. Will she solve the issues facing her administration and restore public confidence? Or will her reign be remembered as a squandered opportunity tainted by controversy? For the people of Dalton, time is running out, and they are demanding change more and more loudly each day.
Comment from Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Voters here will first head to the polls in February for the primary election, then the general.
Tiffany Henyard's repeated absences from crucial meetings, including an urgent meeting in Thornton Township to address a significant insurance issue, have fueled calls for her resignation. Due to the insurance breach, which has disrupted essential services, including food assistance, senior transportation, and government operations, the town is in disarray. Angry local leaders and residents view her actions as a failure to fulfill her duties. When Trustee Chris Gonzalez emphasized the seriousness of the issue, he said, "We're on a toll." Another homeowner criticized her absence as a slap in the face to those in need. Despite Henyard's argument of safety concerns, critics disputed her explanation for her absence, citing a lack of evidence or credible threats. Senior trustee and vocal opponent Jason House insisted that no explanation was provided and stressed that the township could no longer delay its operations. Demonstrations outside a village board meeting that Henyard did not attend served to further underscore the public's discontent. Locals referred to her leadership as an embarrassment and likened her time to a chaotic reality show. Demonstrators called for her resignation, accusing her of disregarding her duties and endangering democracy. Despite criticism of her current performance, which many see as dishonest, Henyard is reportedly campaigning for re-election as township supervisor, which further exacerbates the conflict. Henyard's absence from the emergency meeting to address the insurance issue that affects hundreds of people has been particularly harmful. "This isn't just politics anymore, this is about people's lives," Trustee Gonzalez stated. She deliberately avoids accountability, according to critics, by dodging tough questions, which exacerbates worries that her time and power is running out. The leadership of Henyard is at a breaking point due to the growing number of protests and demands for accountability. There are serious questions about Dalton's future under her leadership, after allegations of carelessness and poor management tarnished her once promising political reputation.
Nobody likes being manipulated, and when you get here, you know that's exactly.
Supporters of Mayor Tiffany Henyard argue that the growing dysfunction in Dalton and Thornton Township under her leadership is due to long-standing political rivalry and structural issues that existed before to her administration. They claim that individuals who wish to see Henyard fail have sabotaged her efforts in spite of her shortcomings. According to one supporter at a recent township meeting, this isn't just about Tiffany, it has to do with a broken system that has to be fixed. Her efforts are not perfect, but she is trying. However, these emotions haven't done much to halt the increasing discontent. Former allies are increasingly shunning Henyard, citing her legal concerns and scandals as diversionary issues that harm the community she was elected to represent. The situation grew when, during a contentious Democratic caucus, State Senator Napoleon Harris and his allies nominated candidates to challenge Henyard for township supervisor. Henyard's supporters said they were refused entry to the caucus site and accused opponents of stifling the vote. However, some viewed her objections as hypocritical and noted that she was reportedly tampering with Dalton's voting processes. In other occasions, Henyard has disputed the caucus results, claiming they are illegal and misleading. According to her detractors, the purpose of these legal proceedings is not justice, but rather the preservation of power. Citing stories of power grabs and voting suppression during her tenure as mayor, many residents found her charges of unfairness to be nonsensical. Instances of financial mismanagement, governmental negligence, and community marginalization have further eroded trust in her leadership. Henyard's word has become a symbol of divide that goes beyond disputes about the election. Whether she is a victim of a hostile political system or a contributor to dysfunction is still up for debate in the community. Her defenses or absence have simply made people more irritated, as this polarization has been exposed at public events and protests. Critics claim that her focus on court cases and retaining power has diverted attention from the pressing needs of Dalton and Thornton Township. Despite supporters' assertions that she faces unjust criticism, her administration is increasingly seen as a prime example of the dysfunction it seeks to blame. Many question whether the community can recover from this atmosphere of distrust and political drama, or whether instability will keep impeding progress.
Action. Somebody that's actually going to do their job. How about that? Somebody that's come in, work for the people, not themselves.
The growing dysfunction in Dalton and Thornton Township has been a contentious issue under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership. Long-standing political rivalries and structural problems that predated her reign, according to her supporters, have impeded her efforts. "This isn't just about Tiffany," said one campaigner during a township meeting. "It has to do with a broken system that has to be fixed. Her efforts are not perfect, but she's trying." However, these emotions haven't done much to curb mounting discontent. Even Henyard's erstwhile supporters are increasingly abandoning the community, citing perceived inadequacies, legal troubles, and scandals as causes. The scandals surrounding Henyard intensified at a divisive Democratic caucus as State Senator Napoleon Harris and his supporters backed a group of candidates to challenge her for township supervisor. Accusations of voter suppression surfaced on both sides. Henyard's detractors characterized her supporters' assertions that they were denied access to the caucus site as dishonest, citing her claimed history of voting manipulation and power consolidation in Dalton as evidence. Henyard has since sued to contest the caucus results, alleging that the process was dishonest and illegal. However, critics argue that these legal actions are more about preserving power than they are about seeking justice. Many residents felt her charges of injustice were unpersuasive, citing contradictions between her words and actions as mayor. Claims of financial mismanagement, public neglect, ignoring local concerns, and making controversial decisions have further eroded trust in her leadership. Her term has become a symbol of dysfunction, with the town divided between those who see Henyard as a victim of political hostility and others who think she is maintaining the disorder she claims to combat. Public protests and contentious debates have added to frustrations. Critics argue that by focusing on legal issues, such contesting caucus results, she fails to address the urgent issues facing the residents of Dalton and Thornton Township. Meanwhile, supporters contend that she is unfairly singled out by political competitors. This divide hinders progress, leaving many to question if the community can recover from this tumultuous period or if instability will continue. As calls for accountability grow, Henyard's leadership is a topic of much debate. The future of Dalton and Thornton Township is uncertain due to unresolved tensions between the leadership and the communities they serve, which jeopardize genuine growth and well-being.
The most recognizable faces that's been on the news lately, talking about the mayor of Dalton, Tiffany Henyard.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's authority appears to be waning as her administration is subjected to heightened scrutiny, public outrage, and controversies that cloud her leadership in Dalton and Thornton Township. Her frequent absences from crucial meetings, her incapacity to address the insurance problem that is jeopardizing vital services, and her concern with ongoing legal battles have led many to wonder if she is only delaying the inevitable or attempting to weather the storm. Some argue that Henyard is stuck in the past and reluctant to prioritize the community she serves, while supporters assert that she is battling against an established system that is attempting to discredit her. Strong public emotions have been triggered by Henyard's affair, with many people feeling disheartened by what they see to be a missed opportunity for a young Black woman leader to have a big influence. A neighbor stated, "She had the opportunity to accomplish something amazing in Dalton, but she let her ego and alleged misbehavior get in the way." Recent scandals have made the backlash worse. After Trustee Holmes allegedly made remarks exposing unethical behavior via a leaked audio and FaceTime chat from Las Vegas, Henyard may have done so to avoid the fallout from the incident. Because of Thornton Township's unresolved insurance crisis, seniors and other vulnerable groups continue to be denied access to essential services. Dalton's financial condition remains dire, since there is no plan to address the massive deficits plaguing the municipal government. Henyard's detractors claim that she has prioritized her personal interests over the community's welfare and that her leadership has directly contributed to the turmoil. Protests have started as locals want accountability and a complete overhaul of the local government. A participant said, "We need a clean house first, but we'll get through this too. We've been through tough times before." Henyard's refusal to resign raises questions about why she did it. Is she genuinely trying to preserve her administration, or is this a desperate attempt to stay in power? As the primary election approaches, the stakes are higher than ever. Her tenure, according to critics, is a cautionary tale about how poor leadership can undermine ambition. Rather than political plotting, Dalton and Thornton Township's recovery will require transparency, accountability, and people-centered leadership.